when I was thinking of the duty that society assigns. You know, when society tells a young man getting out of high school, your duty is to get married, have children, work in a local business, retire at age 65, and so forth. But his inner universal sense of duty says, I need to, if I'm going to have a family, my family and I are going to live in some remote area and
be closer to the earth, be more natural, organic, or whatever.
Yeah, be involved in developing wind energy.
Or in community.
Or in developing an intentional community. Developing patterns of life that are sustainable and renewable and enduring rather than merely matters of consumption.
There are 3 thought forms that are put out by society.
Okay.
Consume, conform, and die.
Okay.
And if you think about it, you'll see consume, buy, buy, buy. If you're that's why they call us consumers. Conform, look this way. This is the way to look. And then die, basically take on all these bad habits and activities, eating bad food, eating sugar-laden food, and
Well, and basically at that point, get out of the way for the person behind you.
Because we need more consumers. So let's use up your energy and then spit you out. So when you're doing your Dharma, such as what you described, or doing your thing or my thing, we have to go against that grain. We have to say, okay, no, instead of conforming, we have to express. Instead of consuming, we have to create. And instead of dying, what we want to do is thrive. So we are pushing against.
And I think one of the neatest things you can do with your life is create something that will outlive you.
Sure. But everything's based on short term. When consume, conform, die, it's all temporal. That's why people on Wall Street, they try to get they gamble. They're basically gamblers. It's more gambling than Las Vegas. They try to go for the big bet. They lose it, they lose, but if they win, they win. When you're doing consume, conform, can die, it's all about the ego and the personality, ego gratification in the moment. If you're doing the opposite, creating, expressing, and thriving, you're thinking of more universal, eternal, more inner, universal things. You're on a soul level, on what's going to satisfy, on a depth. But again, the whole society is based on consume, conform, and die. If you look at it, if you're honest with yourself. So Dharma is a challenge because you have to go beyond that, and that can only come from stepping aside, like Thoreau did, the path at least, taken, and kind of doing those things, and developing independent thinking. Because when you're independent thinking, you can do your Dharma. If you don't have independent thinking, you're just going with the herd mentality, and you'll never express your unique inventiveness and ingenuity.
Yeah. I've heard so many different people in my graduate studies and other places speaking against individuality and individualism as if it were, something that needs to be sacrificed for the sake of community. And I kept trying to tell them that they needed to understand that the two, individuality and community, do not, ideally, are not inherently in adversarial relationship. Rather, they're in what I would call symbiotic relationship. Symbiosis being where it's two different things, each of which contributes to the other, and only because they do, both are able to survive.
Unity in diversity.
Unity in diversity.
If you have unity in diversity, and so every individual, you encourage them to express their own uniqueness, their own diversity, that empowers that individual to be all that they can be, and frees them up and creates respect. Whereas if we're trying to conform, so we'll just go along, then that creates frustration because I can't be who you are. I might share the same values, but if you support me in being who I am and respect that, that actually creates unity, even though we have different opinions.
And I agree with all of that. The way I would phrase it, when I was attempting to describe the relationship between individual and community, community renews itself by nurturing its individuals. And individuals survive by contributing to their communities, so that it becomes that symbiotic relationship of each nurturing the other. I have not been able to think of a single problem in human history that could not be explained as a breakdown in this cycle. That in every case, either it's a community that's not nurturing its individuals, or it's an individual who's not contributing to the community. You know, the reason we have various forms of welfare administrated by the federal government, for example, is because communities weren't taking care of their individuals, and somebody had to pick up the slack. It's not a particularly effective solution. I mean, as everybody knows. For it to work, communities need to nurture the individuals. The government can't step in and do it for them.
That, I believe, is our collective Dharma. That whatever we are, we're here to express our individuality and raise consciousness or express ourselves, but also take care of other people. So if every person, you know, my philosophy is every person who can simply open a door for somebody, do recycling, be kind, share something. If somebody doesn't have food, you give them some of your food. Do something. Extend yourself. If we all do that, we create community, and we're actually doing our Dharma, which I think is basically, for me, expressing love. And whether it's love of expression, love of what you want to share, but also love for other people. That, to me, is the basis of Dharma, because we're all interconnected. So when you're serving somebody else, you're helping yourself, and vice versa. So it is all symbiotic. It is all interconnected. And when you recognize that, then there are many ways, multitudinous ways, that you can express your Dharma, not just one way.
Additionally, to consider each individual as potentially a Leonardo da Vinci, a Carl Sagan, a Madame Curie, you know, whatever historical figure you want to name, that every single individual has that kind of unique potential within themselves, and perhaps some of the special discoveries and answers that humanity desperately needs. If we don't nurture them, we will never know what we missed, but we may have missed the discovery or the solution by which the community could survive some sort of major tragedy.
Right.
And a lot of people will die because that individual wasn't nurtured, wasn't, you know, whoever discovered the vaccine for a particular plague or disease.